Om Sadashiva Samarambham
Shankaracharya
Smadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavidvishavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we had completed the first 9 verses and chapter 12, of course. Now we are on the 10th verse, which we will chant. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Shri Bhagavanu
Vacha
Abhyasepya samarthosi.
Abhyasya samarthosi
Karma paramo bhava.
Matkarma
Karma paramo bhava
Madhartham api karmani.
Madhartham api karmani
Kurvan siddhima vapsyasi.
Kurvan
Okay. So we talked about the 3 forms of bhakti in the last class. What were they? What were the 3 forms of bhakti we talked about?
Nirguna Brahma Upasana, Vishwarupa Upasana, and Ekarupa Saguna Upasana.
Ekarupa Upasana. Right? So 3, starting from the top, the most. Starting from the top, we had Nirguna Brahma Upasana. Next was Vishwarupa Upasana. And lower than that was Ekarupa Upasana. What happens if you are not able to do even Ekarupa Dhyana? Right? So that is also possible. There are people who cannot worship at all. So he's talking about that over here. He says, Abhyase api asamartha asi. Right? Abhyase api asamartha asi. Asamartha means unsuccessful. Abhyase means he's talking about the abhyasa which we talked about. That is the upasana or single form, ekarupa dhyana. So abhyase api asamarthosi. If you are asamartha, unsuccessful, even in worshipping single form, then what should you do? That is what is being talked about. Mat karma parama bhavaha. Karmaha, all your actions, mat paramaha bhavaha, dedicate to me. Because, why? Madartham api kurvan karmani. If you are doing actions for my sake, madartham api. Now, actions done for the sake of Ishvara is basically nothing but worship. So, if you are doing actions as worship, siddhim avapsyasi, you will attain moksha. Right? So, he is talking about a person who has not been able to develop any level of concentration. And that is, of course, very common nowadays because you have people watching too many news channels and there's all sort of shouting going on. Some political party shouting, somebody else is shouting. There are people who are so absolutely focused on news channels. And what is the problem with these channels? Because the subject keeps changing minute by minute. And therefore, your mind is used to constantly being fed with new things. Your mind is occupied with that kind of an activity. Where is the question of quietly sitting and concentrating? And that is the basic requirement of an upasana. Sit in one place without physical activity. That requires sattva-guna. Right? And most people have a lot of rajoguna. Therefore, upasana is out of the question for them. Because the required amount of sattva-guna is not there. For such people, what is being presented? Remember, we have seen three levels: worship of Nirguna Brahman, worship of Saguna Brahman in the form of Vishwarupa Ishvara, worship of Saguna Brahman in the form of Ekarupa Ishvara. So, before coming to meditation, what did we say were the requirements sadhana chatushtayam, which consists of karma yoga? Before coming to upasana, you must have karma yoga. And therefore, the first one was what? Jnanam, Nirguna Brahman. The second, the other two, Vishwarupeshwara and Ekarupeshwara, were what? Upasana. So first, the highest level is Jnanam. The next two levels were Upasana. What else is left?
Karma Yoga.
Karma Yoga. So here now, Krishna is presenting Karma Yoga as a solution for people who are not able to concentrate. Karma Yoga again is at two levels, remember. There is Karma Yoga without desires. So Nishkama Karma Yoga, and this Karma Yoga with desires, Sakama Karma Yoga. So in this 11th verse, Krishna is presenting Nishkama Karma Yoga. So you can call this Karma Yoga level 2. What is the outcome of Karma Yoga? Chitta Shuddhi. So Chitta Shuddhi, without Chitta Shuddhi, question of Upasana is not there. And therefore Krishna is now presenting Karma Yoga, the higher level of Karma Yoga, which is Nishkama Karma Yoga. So he says, Abhyase api asamartah asi. If you are unable to concentrate, you are not fit for Abhyasa Yoga also, then Madhartham Karma Bhavaha. Commit yourself to a life of surrendering all actions to me, which is nothing but Karma Yoga. Take to Panchamaha Yoga, Yajna, do all these yajnas, dedicate your life to society. And that's why they say Manava Seva is Madhava Seva also. Serving of humanity is nothing but serving the Lord. And therefore look upon the society as Ishvara. And therefore we have this prayer also. Yadyat karma karomi tattad akhilam shambho tava aradhanam. Whatever actions I do, hey Lord, I am doing it as a worship to you. So all this is a worship of Vishwarupa Ishvara only. So Nishkama Karma. And Nishkama Karma is without any desires. And when karma is done without a sankalpa, remember that the result is Chitta Shuddhi only. So Nishkama Karma is Chitta Shuddhi Pradhana Karma. Karma which will give you spiritual purity. And so he says Tat Parama Bhavaha. Let that be your basic lifestyle. And Mat Karma Paramaha means a lifestyle where Nishkama Karma is predominant. And then when you lead that lifestyle, you are being of use to society. What will happen? Siddhim avapsyasi. You will certainly attain liberation. Right? Now it might appear as if Krishna is saying that there is no need to come to meditation. You will get moksha through karma. So Shankara adds in his commentary here, very, very neatly he says, Abhyasena vina madhartam api karmani kevalam kurvan. Having done nishkama karma for a long time. Abhyasena vina means without upasana. So obviously this is a person who has not got the concentration necessary for upasana. So Shankara says, Abhyasena vina. You do this karma, kevalam karmani kurvan. Only karma you do, even if it is without upasana, for a long time you do. What will happen? Siddhim avapsyasi. You will certainly get moksha. Yeah? And then you'll wonder how. Then you say sattva shuddhi yoga jnana prapti dvarena. Right? He says that you will get sattva shuddhi, which means chitta shuddhi you will get. And you get chitta ekagrata. So sattva shuddhi is nishkama karma will give chitta shuddhi. And chitta ekagrata also which you will get. After the chitta shuddhi, what will happen? The first door. So dvarena. There are this very beautiful little line. Sattva, Shuddhi, Yoga, Jnana, prapti dvarena. It covers the entire range of sadhana. Sattva Shuddhi is what? Chitta Shuddhi. After getting Chitta Shuddhi, where do you go? You go to meditation. You go to Upasana. Therefore, Yoga here means Upasana. So, Sattva Shuddhi Yoga means Karma Yoga and Upasana you will do. What is the result of Karma Yoga? Chitta Shuddhi. What is the result of Yoga? That is Upasana.
Chitta Shuddhi.
Chitta Shuddhi
Chitta
is the
ekagrata.
result of Karma Yoga.
Chitta ekagrata.
Chitta
Emotion
Ekagrata.
cleanliness.
Chitta Ekagrata. So remember, these are the two different things you must never forget. Karma Yoga only gives you Chitta Shuddhi. It is Upasana which gives you Chitta Ekagrata, one-pointedness of the mind. Therefore, Sattva Shuddhi Yoga means having got Chitta Shuddhi and Chitta Ekagrata. And if you have said Chitta Ekagrata, it means you have gone through Ekarupa Ishvara and Vishwarupa Ishvara Upasana. Then Jnana Prapti Dvarena. And then you do Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. That is the way you will get moksha. So very nice little commentary by Shankaracharya here. Because Krishna simply says that Siddhim Avapsyasi. You will get liberation by doing this Karma Yoga. And Shankara adds, yes, this Karma Yoga will take you to Upasana. This Upasana is on two levels. Ekarupa Upasana and Vishwarupa Upasana. And then you will come to Jnanam. And then you will get Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. And then you will get moksha. That is the way to understand that particular verse of Krishna's. Remember that whenever we see this, Karma Yoga gives you moksha, Upasana gives you moksha, always remember they are indirect means. Right? You have to remember the sequence. Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasana. Whenever the interpretation is there, you have to fit it in that manner. Then only it is the correct interpretation. Okay? Any doubts on that? All right. Now we look at verse number 11. अथैतदप्यशक्तोऽसि
एतदप्यशक्तोऽसि
कर्तुं मद्योगमाश्रितः
कर्तुमद्योगमाश्रितः
सर्वकर्मफलत्यागम्
सर्वकर्मफलत्यागम्
ततः कुरु यतात्मवान्. Okay, what else is now left? Sakama Karma Yoga is left. Last one was Nishkama Karma Yoga. So he says, Atha Ashakta Asi. If you are not able to, Etad Api Kartum. Even in doing this, which is even in doing Nishkama Karma Yoga, if you are unsuccessful, then what should you do? Tataha Madhyogam Ashritaha. Take refuge in me and worship me. But there is a corollary. There is a condition. Sarva karma phala tyagam kuru. You can worship me. And here obviously he's saying that if you are not able to worship me nishkama, without desires, then you can worship me with desires. Right? The moment you say that atha asi ashaktaha etadapi kartu. If you are not able to worship me in a nishkama manner by doing nishkama karma yoga, what is the only alternative? You have to do sakama karma yoga. Therefore, take to my worship, but have desires. No problem in having desires, but sarva karma phala tyagam kuru. Renounce the results of all those actions, yatatmavan, with self-restraint. Okay. So, last verse said, do nishkama karma yoga, which means you have got a control over your desires. But there are people, the majority of people in this world, they're obsessed with kama karma, with desires, and they want every action is done with some desire in mind. Therefore, Krishna says, for such people also have a solution. So, ataha asi asaktaha kartum etad. Even in doing this nishkama karma, if you are not successful, if it's not possible for you, then you can take to sakama karma, but do it as a offering to the Lord. Okay. Now remember, in some places in the Veda, they talk about animal sacrifices also. Okay. Hinsa is there. But he's saying, let it be an offering to the Lord. Right? So in you will find that if you are familiar with the what is Karma Kanda, there are rituals which are actually very tamasic, but they are prescribed in Shastram. For example, you can take into liquor, all this is prescribed. Meat eating, liquor, all this is prescribed for the people who are unable to get away from those desires. So Krishna is saying that, okay, if your nature is such that you are helpless, you have to drink, you have to smoke, you have to eat meat, fine. But do that by way of puja. Convert into puja and slowly, gradually come out of it. Right? But remember that this is an exceptional case. Karma is basically a selfish activity. You're not doing for chitta shuddhi. And therefore, what should you do? Madhyogam ashritaha. Dedicate all those actions to me. You dedicate that karma as Ishwara Arpanam Buddhi, with Ishwara Arpanam Buddhi. But instead of labeling the result as karma phalam, what should you call it? Ishwara Prasadam. Right? So you are worshipping Ishwara, you are doing all the actions with desires. Sakama karma it is. But when the karma is fulfilled, when the result comes, don't say it is karma phalam. Say it is Ishvara prasadaha. So what happens? My desire is fulfilled. At the same time, because Ishvara is there in that whole ritual, even that desire-ridden karma, even that kama karma acquires the capacity to purify the mind. And this lifestyle is called Sakama Karma Pradhana Karma Yoga. You are doing Sakama Karma, but you have made it into Karma Yoga by bringing Ishvara into it. And that is why he says Sarva Karma Phalatyaga. Dedicate the results of all those karmas and accept it as a prasadam from me. Right? So here remember Karma Tyagam. The word Tyagam is not renounce. If you take the word Tyagam as renounce over here, you will get confused. So the word Tyagam here has to be equated to Arpanam. So Sarva Karma Phala Arpanam. Dedicate all the karma to me. This Karma Tyagam is not Karma Sannyasaha. You have to use it as Karma Arpanam. And Shankara makes it clear when he uses in his commentary, he says Anushtanam, performance of Nitya Karma. He does not say Sannyasa, Karma Sannyasa. And therefore here, when Krishna says Sarva Karma Phala Tyagam, he means dedicate all those karmas to me. He does not mean renounce those karmas. And remember here, karma includes all sort of karmas. And in our lives, we have this prohibited karmas also, right? All of us use insecticides. All of us kill mosquitoes. All of us kill cockroaches. Agreed or not agreed?
Yes.
Yes.
Agree. Yes, Acharya.
All this is hinsa. Okay? But Shastra is wise. So Shastra recognizes that there are certain uh, papams, inevitable papams, which you will have to be doing to make your life comfortable. And there's a particular name for that. Anybody knows? We have talked about this before actually.
Pratyavaya.
Suna. Suna.
Suna.
Mm.
Hmm.
Suna is the inevitable papam. So this inevitable Nishiddha karma will not affect you. It will purify you because of Ishvara Arpanam. So that's what it means. You do your karmas, dedicate it to me. And when you're killing a mosquito, dedicate that killing to Ishvara. You tell Ishvara that I'm sorry, but I can't afford to get malaria. Therefore, I'm killing this mosquito, which is a hinsa, but please forgive me for it. That particular attitude, when you do, it becomes suna. Suna will not affect you at all because suna is an inevitable papam. And dedicating it to the Lord is the way of getting around the effects. And kuru yatatmavan. Do all this. Shankara defines yatatmaman here as sanya chittaha, undisturbed, controlled mind. Do all Sakama yogas with an undisturbed mind. Why undisturbed? Because you should know that you will not always get the results that you expect. This is the lowest Sakama karma, the starting point. Now the question is, what if you can't do this also? Then what is to be
Acharya,
done?
can we
Yes.
say that this is like converting a sakama karma into a nishkama karma?
No.
Not renouncing, but arpanam.
It's not. You are still got the, as long as you have the desire, it is Sakama.
Okay. Okay.
Sakama karma when done
The
long enough,
sankalpa, the intent will be sakama.
Sakama karma when done long enough will, release your mind from the grip of those karmas. Then only can you move to Nishkama karma.
Okay. Okay.
So it's
this
a
is the lowest.
ladder for progress which Krishna is presenting in the reverse order.
Yes, it's the ladder of progress. So Sakama karma yoga, if you reverse it, supposing you reverse it, and for our understanding. First one, Sakama karma yoga. Second one, Nishkama karma yoga. Third one, Ekarupa upasana. Fourth one, Vishwarupa upasana. Fifth one, Nirguna Brahma upasana or Arupa Jnana. These are the 5
Right.
stages of bhakti. Now the question here is, what if I can't do Sakama karma also? Then what? Anybody? Krishna doesn't say, but we can supply. What is that? Nobody? It's very simple. Too bad. Come back in your next life. Right? Okay.
Too bad.
Too bad.
Hari Om Raviji.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Actually, when I went to Ujjaini, I saw people offering liquor to Kala Bhairava. So that upasana is okay for them?
You are offering it to the Lord. You can offer anything to the Lord.
Okay.
So this
We also
bad,
saw it.
this bad, good,
Yeah.
all these things are basically, I don't know. There was a serial called on Lord Shiva. What is the famous serial? TV serial?
Mahadeva,
Uh,
Devadidev Mahadeva.
that one. Okay. So there's a scene there where Parvati is, Parvati has gone for a bath and she's coming back, right? So she sees one rishi over there who is worshipping Lord Shiva with blood and meat. Okay. So she gets very upset and she tells him, how can you do this? How can you kill animals and worship? So, this is a story, right? I've seen the TV serials, I'm telling you. So the rishi says, and how would you, Devi, how would you worship? So she says, I will worship with Ganga water and that, those leaves. What are the leaves which you worship Lord Shiva? Bilva leaves or something, right?
Bilva. Yeah.
Bilva leaves.
Bilva.
So she says, Rishi says, okay, fine. You do one thing. You show me that worship. And the idea is that if the worship is successful, then Lord Shiva will accept that worship and the leaves will disappear. Okay. So she says fine, and she does. And nothing happens to the leaves. The leaves still remain there. So she's very surprised. Then she says, okay, you do with your meat and then show me. Because she is sure that if her bilva leaves have not disappeared, how can this fellow's meat disappear? So the rishi takes the meat and the blood and puts it all on and worships, and not all disappears. Right? So then she realizes that, this is no ordinary rishi. So it is Lord Shiva himself dressed as a rishi who has come to give a lesson, the last lesson to Parvati. What is the lesson?
Everything is Ishvara.
Everything is Brahman alone. And you, Parvati, are worshipping with the idea that I am a better worshipper than you. So Ahankara is there. So loss of Ahankara was very necessary. The same idea here. Whenever you worship with the knowledge that I am worshipping to Ishvara, without saying that, I as a Brahmin am a better person than a Kashtachastriya, all those things. Everything is Brahman alone. That idea has to be there. Okay. So TV serials have no place in Shastram actually, but really. Now we look at verse number 12. Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasat
Shreyo
श्रेयो हि ज्ञानमभ्यासात्
Jnanamabhyasa
jnanat dhyanam vishishyate.
ज्ञानात्
Jnanat
विशिष्यते
Dhyanam Vishishyate
Jnanat karma phalatyagaha.
ध्यानात्
Jnanat Karma
कर्मफलत्यागः
Phalatyaga
Yagat chantiranantaram.
त्यागाच्छान्तिरनन्तरम्
Nantaram.
So the 5 levels are over. Okay. 5 levels of bhakti have been presented. Now, he says, a very confusing verse. Jnanam abhyasat hi shreyaha. Okay. So, abhyasa, jnanam, knowledge, shreyaha is superior to abhyasaha. Now here, abhyasaha is used in a very particular meaning. It means simply doing dhyanam, upasana, but without any knowledge, without any jnanam. So remember this, you have to remember these meanings, otherwise the whole thing will not make sense. Jnanam abhyasat shreyaha, knowledge is superior to meditation without knowledge. Without knowledge, you have to add in brackets. It is not simply knowledge is superior to meditation. Knowledge is superior to meditation without knowledge. Then, jnanat dhyanam vishishyate. So here, in the earlier one, abhyasa means upasana without jnanam. So here, dhyanam means upasana with jnanam. So dhyanat, jnanat, dhyanam vishishyate. Upasana with jnanam is superior to jnanam. Very confusing verse, so I am being very careful about saying it. Jnanam abhyasat shreyaha. Knowledge is superior to meditation without knowledge. Jnanat dhyanam vishishyate. Meditation with knowledge is superior to only knowledge. So only you have to add. And dhyanat karma phala tyagaha. You have to add. Vishishyate. Karma phala tyagaha. Renunciation of the results of actions. Dhyanat vishishyate is superior to meditation with knowledge. And then what? Shantihi anantaram tyagat. After this tyagaha, which tyagaha? Karma phala tyagaha. there is anantaram shanti. There is shanti. Anantaram means afterwards. Tyagat anantaram, after this karma phala tyagam, shanti, there is peace. Okay, so let's try to make sense of the whole thing. So there are four terms or four sadhanas being talked about. One is abhyasaha, one is jnanam, one is dhyanam, and one is karma phala tyaga. Okay, all the meanings I have got, they didn't come out of my mind. Okay, Shankaracharya writes an elaborate bhashyam to explain. So he says in the beginning of the bhashyam itself that this verse, so I can give you the Sanskrit words. Idanim sarva karma phala tyagam stautihi. Stautihi is stutihi. So he says this verse is a stutihi, is a glorification of what? Sarva karma phala tyaga. Therefore, this mantra is what is known as Arthavada, a mantra for glorifying. It is not Pramana Vakyam. You understand? I'm not trying to say. This mantra cannot be taken as Pramanam. What would be Pramanam? If it was Pramanam, then you are taking it that Karma Phala Tyagaha is the most superior among all the sadhanas. But this mantra, Shankaracharya says, is for the purpose of glorification of Karma Phala Tyagaha. Okay, so that is the introduction. That is how from the introduction comes all the meanings. So Abhyasaha. So here Shankara writes very clearly, Abhyasaha is equal to Jnana Rahita Dhyanam. Mechanical meditation without understanding what Ishvara is. Abhyasaha is meditation without understanding what Ishvara is, which is why I said meditation without knowledge. That is the meaning of Abhyasaha. And Shankaracharya writes in his commentary that this is Abhyasaha not preceded by a discriminative inquiry. Means you have not inquired into the Shastra, you have just commenced meditation without knowing what Ishvara is. And therefore, this is a purely mechanical practice. Right? Remember that in all our other things also, other sadhanas, asana, pranayama, etc., you should know what is the objective of the sadhana. Without that, the whole thing becomes merely mechanical and doesn't give you, it might give you physical benefit. But remember, asana, pranayama, etc. are not meant only for physical benefit. Right? That's why they are spiritual sadhana. Okay. If anybody is reading the Bhashyam, remember that if you're looking at the Sringeri website, the word used there is Viveka Purvakat. That is actually error. The Gita Press has the correct word, Aviveka Purvakat, which means Aviveka Purvam. Abhyasa, before which Viveka has not come. Which means discriminative inquiry has not come. So that's the first one. Abhyasa means Jnana Rahita Dhyanam. Mechanical meditation without knowledge. Then Shankara says Dhyanam is Jnanam. Second one is Jnanam. Jnanam is Dhyana Rahita Jnanam. Which means what? Jnanam is there. Study of scriptures is there. Clear understanding of Ishvara is there. What is Ishvara is there. But Dhyanam is not there. So Krishna means here that there is knowledge, but not accompanied by meditation, not accompanied by Nidhi Dhyasanam. And that's why Krishna says, Jnanam Ishreya Abhyasat, which means Dhyana Rahita Jnanam. That is to say, knowledge without meditation is superior to meditation without knowledge. Are you guys following me?
Ji.
Okay. If you don't ask immediately, okay, it'll get very confusing afterwards. Then the third is defined. The third is dhyanam. So Shankara says dhyanam is jnana sahita dhyanam. That is knowledge combined with nididhyasanam. And therefore, jnanam with nididhyasanam is superior to plain old jnana. Because without nididhyasanam, what will happen? Jnanam will remain as information only. With nididhyasanam, what happens? Jnanam will move from information and become transformation. Okay. So far, it's all logical, right? Do you see the logic so far?
Yes.
The arguments are all logical. Now comes the contradiction. Then Krishna says, karma phala tyagaha is superior. Right? Karma phala tyaga is what? Based on Ishvara arpana bhavaha and prasada buddhi. So he says, better than all these three is karma phala tyagaha. So it's a open contradiction, straight contradiction, because whatever we have taught is that karma phala tyagaha is the first step, not the last one. And here Shankara says, yes, it is an open contradiction, but you have to understand what is Lord Krishna's intention. Majority of people in the world are not ready for anything but karma yoga. And that also sakama karma yoga. You all got only desires. Therefore, without addressing those desires, how can you even come to Nishkama Karma Yoga? And therefore, Shankara says the whole sloka is Arthavada sloka, exaggerating the value of a sadhana so that to encourage the people to practice that. Right? So, for example, if you give everything to the Lord, then when it comes back, it becomes a prasada, right? So that's when you do your puja, what do? You buy the laddus from the market and you give it and offer it to the Lord. When the puja is over, the laddu is no longer a laddu, right? What is it?
Prasada.
It is prasada. And therefore here he is saying that this particular attitude, that whatever is given by the Lord is prasadam, that is very important to build up chitta shuddhi. So every experience in your life, your husband, your wife, your children, your promotions, your loss of promotions, your illnesses, take them all as Ishvara Prasada. What is the only way? Giving up resistance. Agate swagatam. Whatever comes, you welcome. Gachantam na nivarayet. Whatever goes, do not hold on. Very, very important little phrase. Agate swagatam gachantam na nivarayet. Whatever comes, you welcome. Whatever goes, don't hold on. And then, what is the consequence of this karma phala yoga? Tyagat shantihi anantaram. After that tyagaha, shantihi comes. And Shankara in his commentary says, this shantihi is equivalent to moksha. Again the question comes, how can karma phala tyaga be the cause of moksha? Therefore, this last quarter, tyaga chantir anantaram, is not pramana vakyam. It is arthavada vakyam. Arthavada is defined as either stuti or criticism. Like you criticize other sadhanas to exaggerate one sadhana. And then Shankara explains in his commentary very beautifully. He says, why is this Arthavada? He says, in the first 11 slokas, 5 stages of bhakti were pointed out. And the lowest one was what? Sakama Karma Yoga. And therefore, Shankara says Krishna's intention is that Ajnanis should do Sakama Karma Yoga because of their inability to do the previous four sadhanas. And for them, Karma Phala Tyaga is recommended by Krishna. From that itself, it is clear that Karma Phala Tyaga is the lowest among the five sadhanas. Right? And Shankara explains that in the Shastram it is said that a jnani has renounced all desires and objects of desires. Has he not? When you are a jnani,
Yes.
you have renounced all desires. Therefore, what is the person who is a renounced desires called? He is called Sarma Karma Phalatyagihi. See the logic. A jnani is also Sarva Karma Phalatyagihi because he has also renounced all the desires. And this is a common feature among Ajnanis doing Sakama Karma Yoga because Krishna is telling the Ajnani, you should renounce your desires, offer it to me. And Jnani also has renounced all his desires. And therefore he says Krishna is using this as a means of encouragement to sadhakas. Beginner sadhakas, those who are on the Sarva Karma Phala Tyaga ladder. In fact, there is a story, there's a story about this. One village boy, so he became a sannyasi, right? He spent many, many years in Himalayas. And he became a great renunciate. Sannyasi means renunciate. Because why was he great? Because he's a great tyagi. So one day he came back to the village for something and they all glorified him. So there was a big meeting held and they all glorified him. And the speaker said that this village boy of ours, who is now a sannyasi, is a great tyagi, great renunciate. Why? Because he has renounced all the finite things and now he is holding on to the infinite. And then they said, ask the sannyasi, can you say a few words? So sannyasi got up and said, okay, actually speaking, thank you for having said that I am a great sannyasi, great tyagi. But actually speaking, all of you are bigger tyagis than me. What is the reason? Because I have only renounced all finite things by holding on to infinite. But you guys have renounced the very infinite by holding on to the finite. Which is greater renunciation? Renouncing the finite or renouncing the infinite? So this is the idea being conveyed here. Okay, any questions so far?
Can this be a
Krishna
Granthi
giving
shloka, Acharya?
No, it's not a Granthi Sloka. Granthi Sloka is very specifically mentioned in the Shastra separately.
Okay. So, but we have to say that the karma phala tyaga part which comes in the end is arthavada and it is
It is
not really
Arthavada only,
pramana.
it is not Pramanavada. Yes.
Okay.
It is meant for encouraging the beginners to start Karma Yoga.
Right, right.
So he is
So
telling
Krishna,
Arjuna basically, Arjuna, you are basically a Sakama Karmi, do that.
Yes. Start at the beginning.
Start at the very beginning.
giving
Very
hope
good.
to the hopeless.
Giving hope to the hopeless. So
So
go ahead.
quoting this out of context causes a lot of confusion.
Causes a lot of confusion. And any Shastric verse quoted out of context will completely confuse you. Okay, let's look at the 13th verse. Adveshta sarvabhutanam
Adveshta
sarvabhutanam
sarvabhutanam
Maitra karuna evacha
Maitrah
Karuna eva
karuna
cha.
eva cha.
Nirmamo nirahankaraha.
Nirmamo nirahankaraha.
Samadukha sukhakshami.
Samadukha
Samadukha
sukhakshami.
So that sukhakshami is necessary. I suppose by now all of you all know. Because of the visarga before the ksha. Sukhakshami. Okay. So the first 12 verses basically were dealt with the bhakti as a sadhana. It gave the 5 stages, and then it said which is superior, which is junior, which is less superior. Right. So once you have gone through all these 5 stages, what happens? You have started as Sakama Upasana, and you've gone all the way up. Sakama Karma Yoga, and you have gone up all the way up. Then you become a Jnani, a Jivan Mukta. So you have understood that you are Brahman. You have discovered that I am Brahman. And therefore the next few verses, all the rest of the verses, 13 to 20th, they deal with the Jnani Lakshanam. Jnani Lakshanam. What are the natural characteristics of a Jnani? Why should such a thing be said? Because this is already seen in chapter 2 also. You will find that many places the natural characteristics of a Jnani are highlighted by scriptures. Why is it so? Because what is the natural trait, the nature of a Jnani? For a Ajnani, that is a sadhana to be deliberately practiced. The values which we consciously practice, those are the very same values. When Jnanam comes, they become spontaneous for you. They become your nature. And those values are being now, what they call, mentioned. And you can simply say that in a nice word, nice way of saying it, you can fake these values till you make these values. So fake it till you make it. That is what is being said. When you say these are deliberate for a seeker, you are consciously imitating those values even though you don't have them. And therefore you are faking it. And when you become a jnani, they have become spontaneous for you. Therefore, fake it till you make it. What are those values? Adveshta. Nadveshtaha. Not hating anybody. And Shankara adds, don't hate even those people who give you sorrow, which means do not hate anybody at all. And what is the reason? Because sarvani bhutani atmatvena pasyati. That jnani sees everybody as himself. Therefore, if everybody is myself, there is no question of hate, right? You cannot hate when there is no second person. So if you look at everybody as yourself, there will be no hate. To give you an example, if you accidentally bite your tongue, you don't punish your teeth. Why? Both are part of you. And therefore, for a jnani, this is normal. This is natural that he does not hate anybody at all. Adveshta sarvabhutanam. Therefore, remember that all of us have dislikes. But the bigger your list of dislikes, the further from moksha that you are. And Shastra says there is no such thing as justified hatred. In a lot of, uh, psychology today, they talk about justified hatred. You can hate somebody for a particular reason. But Shastra says hatred is pointless because it doesn't change anybody. In fact, hatred is like acid. It destroys the locus in which acid is situated. Therefore, hatred also destroys the locus of the hatred, which is you. It will burn you. Right? Shastra says you use any method. Sama, dana, bheda, to achieve your objectives. You can even use the final one, danda, right? But even danda cannot be used with hatred. It has to be used with love alone. Like if you are going to spank a child, never spank because you dislike what the child is doing. Spank because you love the child and want to prevent it from doing things harmful to itself. So, adveshta sarvabhutana. That's the first quality. Second quality is maitraha. Maitraha is a friend. There is a text called Niti Shatatam. Have you heard of it?
Bhartrahari.
Bhartrahari.
Bhartrahari. So he, in that particular book text, he defines a friend. So I will, there's a very nice definition of friend. Why we are giving definition of friend? Because we are saying Maitra, right? So Papat Nivaryati Yojate Hitaya. So Papat Nivarayati. The person who turns me away from papam, from wrong action, and Hitaya Yojyate. He pushes me to do right action. That's the first definition of a friend. The one who doesn't allow you to do wrong actions. The one who encourages you to do correct actions. Then Guhyam Niguhati. Guhyam, whatever are my secrets, Niguhati. He keeps it. He does not go and announce it to the world. And Gunan Prakriti Karoti. All my gunas, all my good aspects, he goes and announces it to the world. He shares with others. And apadgatam nachahati. In crisis, he does not leave you. Apadgatam nachahati. He does not leave you when you are in a crisis. And dadati kale, whenever there is, he gives me time. Dadati kale. He gives me time whenever I need. He can add. He can give me money. He can give me grace. Anything which I need, he gives me. So that is Sanmitra Lakshana Idam Pravadanti Santaha. San Mitra Lakshanaha. These are the Lakshanam, indications of a good friend. Idam Pravadanti Santaha. This is what the wise people say. So if you have a friend, you see if he fulfills these conditions. Papat Nivaryati Yojayate Hitaya Guhyam Niguhati Gunan Prakriti Karoti Apadgatam Nachahati Dadati Kale. If he fulfills his conditions, he is a friend. So Maitra is a friend. Then Karunaha. So he is compassionate towards those who are in pain. He enjoys a sensitive mind. He understands the pain of others. Right. Then, okay, here Shankaracharya writes, he takes Karunaha as sannyasi. Shankaracharya is everything as sannyasi, but he takes Karunaha as sannyasi because Shankara says that he tells everybody, the whole world, that you need not be afraid of me. He tells the whole world that you need not be afraid of me. And if anybody has seen the sannyasi ritual, you will know that there is a ritual to take sannyasa, where your guru tells you to enter the river and take off all your clothes and chuck it away. And then you walk towards the north. And then he calls you back. Guru calls you back and gives you the sannyasi robes. Okay. So before calling you back, you have to be standing in the water after taking off your clothes. And you have, there's a ritual where you're addressing all the living beings. So first you call the birds and the animals. And he says, don't be afraid of me because I am never going to hurt you. For my security, I will hurt none of you. You need not be afraid of me. He calls all the human beings and says same thing, that For my well-being, I will never hurt you or kill you. Don't be afraid of me. He calls the Devatas, and he says, and here it is a very nice one. Here he says, I am not going to do any rituals to come to Swarga. Therefore, you need not be afraid of me, because I will not come and displace you. And therefore, nobody, no living being needs to be frightened of me. And this is called a Abhaya Pradhana Mantra. Right? So the greatest vow for a sannyasi, greatest vratam for a sannyasi is this ahimsa vratam. Nobody needs be afraid of me. And therefore Shankaracharya says this karuna means this particular meaning. Nobody is afraid of me. Then nirmamaha. Nirmamaha means without the my thought, mind thought, without ownership. Right? So this is what we call aparigraha, without possessions. So without possessions, without relationships, without transactions, without obligations. This is the mark of a jnani. And how to give up ownership, we all know. Two methods. First, consider yourself to be a trustee for the Lord. You use everything, but you own nothing. The other one is Vedantic method. Know that you are Atmaha. Atma is Asangaha. You have nothing. How can you claim anything as yours? And therefore, the one who is prepared to lose all that he uses, he is real jnani. Then the fifth one is Nirahankaraha. So, earlier one was Nirmama, not having the my thought. Nirahankaraha is not having the idea that this body is mine. So, the thought of I am the RC has to be replaced by I am the OC. Right? So, here if you see the two differences, Mamakara is in relation to three anatmas: family, possessions, and professions. Mamakara has three anatmas: family, possessions, professions. Ahankara has two anatmas: mind and body. And therefore, these five, family, possession, profession, mind and body, if you don't have the lack of ownership, this is without Mamakara, without Ahankaraha. Therefore, he says Nirahankaraha, lack of ownership and identification with our own three bodies. So identification with the body-mind complex is Ahankaraha. Identification with everything external, possessions, family, profession, that is Mamakaraha. Even this, the Jnani does not have. So in his Vairagi Shatakam, which is also Bharatari, he writes a beautiful verse about the approach of a Jnani at the time of death of the body. So the Jnani addresses all the five elements, Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Prithvi, Apaha, and says, Hey Panchabhutani, you have given me all your parts for building up this body. Body has got Akasha. Body has got Vayu in the form of my breath. Body has got Agnihi in the form of warmth of the body. Body has got Jalam, water is there. And it has got earth also, all the weight is there. This physical body is therefore called Bhautika Shariram. It's a gift from the Panchabhutanis. And his prayer is that I have intelligently made use of this body. I am now returning the body to you because I no longer need a body. I won't be having a rebirth. Very, very beautiful prayer. Okay. Then Sama Dukkha Sukha Kshami. So Sama Dukkha Sukha means even-minded in pleasure and pain, which means the mind does not generate raga and dvesha, which means that the capability of external events to disturb my mind has come down. Prarabdha, remember, will give you pleasure, but I go through the pleasure without developing a raga, attachment, towards the source of the pleasure. When prarabdha brings painful events, I go through the pain without generating dvesha, towards the source of the pain. So idea here is that this jnani has prarabdha. He goes through pleasures and pains, but he does not permit the pleasure and the pain to generate raga dvesha for the sources of the pleasure and the pain. And the last one is Shamihi. Shamihi means the one whose mind is free from violent disturbances. And Shankaracharya says his mind is free from violent disturbances. Even when people abuse verbally or abuse you physically, that person has got Shamaha. This is called Titiksha. Okay. Now we need not take this very literally, right? Somebody comes and beats you up, you needn't go into meditation. Why should you not take the extremes? Why should you talk to the extremes? We can adopt the middle path because things like losing your cool when you drive on the busy roads at peak traffic, but something in worldly transactions. You need, in a worldly transactions, sometimes you need anger, right? You have to shout to get things done. Should you use this anger or not? Yes, use the anger, but use fake anger. Don't get really angry. And how do I know whether anger is real or fake? Any idea?
If it affects us after the event, then it is true anger.
Excellent. If the anger disturbs you afterwards, it is real anger. Fake anger will leave absolutely no hangovers. So with this, we'll stop. We don't have time for
Raviji, can I?
questions.
Yes,
Uh,
Raviji,
yeah,
can you
go ahead.
hear me, Raviji?
Yeah, I can.
Actually, I have this doubt. Though I am attracted to Vedanta, spiritual practices, meditation, puja, all these things, I really don't have a understanding of mukti. And I also feel, what is wrong if it is required? We can be born again. That is how I get the feeling. So I don't know. I don't
I would
understand
suggest you just stick to the teachings for a longer time. The questions will become clear by themselves.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
Thank
with this,
you.
we'll stop for today. Om Purnamada
Purnamada
Purnamidam
Purnamidam
Purnat Purnamudachyate
Purnamudachyate
Purnasya Purnamadaya
Purnamadaya
Purnamevavashishyate
Purnamevavashishyate.
Om
Om
Shanti
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 Om Tat Sat
Shanti.
Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your
Thank you
patience.
so much.
Om.
Thank you.